Welcome to SMU Stories, the podcast where we dive into the journeys of remarkable alumni from Southern Methodist University who have excelled in the world of business. I'm your host, Mitch Brown, and each episode will uncover the secrets, challenges, and triumphs of this extraordinary individual. From entrepreneurs who've turned dreams into multi-million-dollar enterprises to executives leading global corporations, SMU has nurtured a community of innovators, leaders, and visionaries. Join us as we sit down with the alumni who have walked the same halls, studied in the same classrooms, and emerged as industry pioneers. Get ready for insights, inspiration, and actionable advice as we explore the unique SMU stories that have shaped the business landscape. Whether you're a current student, an aspiring entrepreneur, or simply curious about the power of the SMU network, this podcast is for you. So grab your headphones, settle in, and let's embark on a journey through the compelling narratives of SMU alumni who are making waves in the business world. This is SMU Stories. Let's begin. SMU Stories is brought to you by Security National Bank of Texas, SMU Cox School of Business, Morrison Seeger Venture Capital Partners, and Hilltop Property Tax. Alec, thanks so much for joining us today. Really excited to tell your SMU story and the incredible stuff you're building. If you would, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you for having me, Mitch. I'm Alec Keating. Grew up in Chicago, Illinois, graduated from SMU in 2020, and now I'm the president of my family company, Keating Resources.
We were chatting before and was fortunate enough to go to an event last night that you guys hosted that we'll be talking very much about for the majority of today's conversation. And I think I mentioned to you, you're the first kind of COVID grad that we'll have on the show. So to talk about those challenges will be interesting to say the least. But how we always start, a little bit of the origin story. You're from Chicago. How did you pick SMU? What was your college selection process like that ultimately had you choose the Hilltop for your undergrad experience?
Yeah, I grew up in the western suburbs of Chicago, and I wanted to get out of the cold, which was a common theme for many Chicagoans. And I looked at the University of Miami and went out to California. I was convinced I wanted to go to California for college, and I got a scholarship to Santa Clara. And really, my three criteria were top business school, big city, warm weather, and kept studying. I was like, I'm not sure about California. It's not my crowd necessarily. And SMU was actually the last school that I visited, and I knew the moment I stepped on campus that I'd be going there. And my mom could see it in me too. You know, we walked on campus. It has a very Ivy League feel. And after we went to a Cox presentation, and I was just sold. And I did early admission, never looked back.
That's amazing. Yeah, it seems like the power of stepping on campus really convinces people, and the way that the school's been built to where it has, you're in a big city, a growing city that we'll talk about, and I'm sure that influenced a good bit of kind of where your thought process went in picking not only Dallas for college, but also where you live now. But it feels like you're in a college city, like a standalone college city at SMU within a giant city. So you kind of get the best of both worlds of saying, you know, I'm traveling to go off to school, but I'm insulated in kind of college town. But then to your point, I want to be in a large metro that has a good business school and kind of has those features that you need. So you mentioned the Cox School. Did you know the Cox School was the plan? Was it finance? Kind of what was 18-year-old Alec thinking coming into school? What he wanted to study, and how did that evolve over your 4 years?
Yeah, and I'll touch back on Dallas as a city. I remember in one of my high school business classes, we were required to give a presentation on where we were going to college and why. And one of the primary points I gave was, you know, Dallas is the fastest growing metro in the United States, and 18-year-old me was probably reciting statistics found online, but that's been a critical reason I've stayed in Dallas, and you know, I'm going to stay in Dallas for likely my entire life, just the growth of Texas. But yes, finance was always the Cox School of Finance was always the direction I was looking to go. I think that originally I was planning to just do finance, and then I decided to go the real estate finance route because of the really the teachers, the professors on staff. What I find so valuable about Cox and just Cox in general is you have professionals teaching you, not just academics. And that's not the case with many institutions. And just had some phenomenal professors, Chuck Danis, James Ray is probably the most influential teacher I ever had at SMU. And I just found the professors to be invaluable
Yeah.
to me and to my career.
And you grew up in an entrepreneurial real estate family. You mentioned taking kind of the finance real estate route. How, as you started to kind of wrap up your college experience, think about your next kind of steps, career wise? How did you kind of proceed into that? And then also COVID happens. How, kind of tie a bow on how college wraps up and how you think about, or how things kind of changed for a traditional kind of post college journey.
Yes. So I had a couple internships during school. I interned at Hopkins Commercial Real Estate here in Dallas, which is a retail focused company. And then I also interned in Miami for the leading industrial sales and leasing team in South Florida under Larry Janae and Tom O'Laughlin. And so many people tell you, go work for somebody else for 5 years. Don't go work for your family. So I was like, okay, am I going to go to Miami? Because I had a great network there from my father. So considered that. Do I stay in Dallas? Do I go to New York? And, I'd put in a lot of effort into gaining skill in real estate. Went to SMU, had great internships, had gotten my um, salesperson's license at like 19. And, I've been following my dad around industrial sites and mining sites since I was, I don't know, 8 years old. And he just called me when I was 21 yeah, 21. It was summer going into my senior year. And he's like, listen, you can go work for someone else if you want, but you're going to, if you work with me, you're going to learn a lot more and you're going to make more money. And there's nobody who's going to support you like I will and put you in the position to learn and succeed. And that's really what led me to work with my family. I think there's something to be said for going out and working for other people. And I would urge my recommendation to any students looking for a job is to take the job that will allow you to condense your learning curve to learn the most in the shortest amount of time. And that for me was working for my father. And if you have the opportunity to work for an extraordinary individual or a group, I'd go as far to say work for free if you
Right.
can, because your 20s are about learning, and that's why I decided to work with my family.
And you had kind of the best of both worlds, learn from a mentor that you respected and had seen success that just happened to be your father. How involved were you in some of his business dealings through high school, through college, to where you were already kind of getting some involvement of the way he thinks, or kind of the planning that you guys might have once you graduate?
I would say, during high school, I basically just followed him around, just watched the way he did business. I might say a word here and there, but had pretty limited had pretty limited knowledge or ability to opine and create value. But in college, we bought a building here in Brook Hollow. It was the former Mary Kay Distribution Center, and I got to be involved with the redevelopment of that property, which was 136,000 square feet. That was a really successful project, and just getting to be on site while we did some demo and did some value add to the building and leased it out. So that was a great experience. And then definitely dove right in after school and got directly involved. And I don't know what it's been. I think over 10 projects
Yeah.
now.
So, you make the decision of kind of weighing the scenarios of, is it work for the family business immediately, go do some things. You obviously give it some deep thought and kind of decide, okay, it is, let's start immediately. But then it's COVID, the landscape's probably stripped. You guys might have had some plans prior, leading up to COVID, of what you guys wanted to do, what you would invest in. Tell us a little bit about the story of those first few months in COVID. I know it a little bit, but tell it to our audience. And then how does South Dakota come on the map? And then let's get into the vision you guys have there. But first, that origin story of why South Dakota, how that all came about, what you guys were kind of thinking leading into, all right, Alec has started to come into the family business. What are we going to do? Kind of phase one of that process.
Of course, we all know COVID really hit first week of March, 2020. I was in Napa Valley with my now wife. We had planned a trip there for spring break that year. Made it like one day before California shut down. So she's from San Luis Obispo. We went back to her parents' house, and we were there for 2 months. During this time, my dad was trying to complete Tampa Fulfillment Center, which was a 180,000 square foot infill industrial building 5 minutes from downtown Tampa. And that was a very difficult time to complete construction for obvious reasons, but got the project done and sold that at a near record cap rate. I think it was a 3.8 at the time. So it was pretty apparent to us that, well, credit was free. So, him and I sat down and we were like, hey, if there's a time to not to go out and find good deals, it's right now. Do the opposite of what everybody else is doing, staying inside. And that's what we did. Really, what drove us to South Dakota was he had purchased an 800,000 square foot campus. It was the former Gateway Computer Campus. And last night I shortened this story up for simplicity, but it's located in Sioux City, South Dakota. It had been vacant for 10 years. He buys this huge campus, subdivides it into condos, massive industrial condos. And he was selling off the last component in 2020. And I said, hey, why don't we go check out the Black Hills? Looks interesting. It's the highest mountain range east of the Rockies. It's accessible. South Dakota is seemingly a good place to do business, low tax. And I said, if nothing, we'll just make a vacation out of it because it has no restrictions. So we go there for 5 days and we hike, bike, fish, look at properties, and we were just shocked at what we found. It's just extraordinarily beautiful, very affordable. And we both returned to our homes in Florida and Texas where it was 100 degrees. And we just remarked how interesting the area was and that we wanted to go back. And he actually called me just a few days later and he's like, we need to go back there and buy as much as we can. It's based on my 35 years of experience. It's way undervalued. And that's what we did. And we spent that summer acquiring 2,000 acres and a 34,000 square foot building in Deadwood, which was the largest historic building in Deadwood. And then a couple one vacant industrial property and one vacant retail property that we converted to self-storage. No, and at the same time, we did a couple industrial deals here in Texas, 250,000 square feet in Hutchins, Texas, and then we went, or the day after Tesla announced the Gigafactory, I drove down to Austin and found a 20-acre site located 7 minutes from Tesla near Bergstrom that we put under contract, and we're going to build a 240. And that deal did not go as well as the rest of them, which is also a great story because that was a great learning lesson for me that we can talk about too.
So as you guys, you go on the South Dakota trip, you're like, wow, this place is unreal. It meets all the kind of, first off, just from a vacation, sounds like you guys are fun outdoors people. You get to do all that. And then you both come home and kind of jump on the phone and are like, wait, this is too good of a opportunity. How come no one's built this up? Are you guys thinking like, let's develop this into communities, let's turn this into whatever we can, or is it like, hey, let's be more industrial focused, business focused, or kind of like, hey, let's just buy as much land as we can and over time kind of see how we want to go into it? What was the initial conversation, and then what led to what we now know and want to focus on, from Deer Mountain Village and the ranch style communities to really investing in Spearfish, Deadwood, Lead, and South Dakota as a whole?
We're value buyers, so that was what was driving our interest from the beginning. And what we saw was these properties, these were some extraordinary acreages priced at ag value. And that's what really drove our interest because of the cost basis. And as we spent more time studying other mountain markets, we really gained a better vision for what we were going to create at each of these communities. Our first community was Spearfish Mountain Ranch, which we subdivided into 40-acre ranchettes. And we did that because you can subdivide down to 40 acres without going through rezoning with the county. So you can just go build and subdivide them. And, we sold, that was during, 21, 22, when credit was very inexpensive. And, we sold out those without having any infrastructure in basically immediately. And that, um, we were buying land at a great value, and today it's much more expensive. But yeah, that's what drove it immediately. And I don't think that we knew exactly what Deer Mountain was going to look like at that time. But as we flew from coast to coast studying other communities, and my dad and I we were pretty confident that inflation was going to happen and get worse. And that's difficult for land development, in particular, right? Because you're doing a for sale development and takes a long time. And really, with Deer Mountain, there's other communities that were rental communities, or they were selling off lots with no amenities, less amenities. And I thought it was really important to deliver, or we thought after studying in detail, it was really important to deliver a top tier product that was going to shield us from the issues that we foresaw. And I think that's been really true today because, certain income demographics are more price inelastic than others. And I think that marketing to the higher end's been a driver of our
Yeah.
success, especially in the Black Hills, because there's nobody else was doing that in the area. So,
Yeah. So had you guys had some of your life led up to kind of your vision of this? As a family, you guys are going to different mountain towns. You've kind of always known what you like, and it's just kind of a perfect storm of like, hey, we're actually developing this ourselves. And let's talk about the business of developing a mountain community, right? We all know the big ones, the Park Cities, the Aspens. How did you guys take what you love there and now are saying, hey, this might be one of the last chances to build a new one in South Dakota? How do you piece it all together? What's kind of the process? 30,000 foot level. You don't have to get into too much detail. And then where are you guys at now with the development?
yes. So, you look at all of these amazing mountain communities: Aspen, Park City, Jackson, Telluride, Tahoe, or even going out to like Stowe, Vermont on the East Coast. And I think that you have to take pieces of inspiration from each, and then you have to apply it to the region that you're in and the market or the demographic that you're marketing to. Because, Aspen, a 1 acre lot, is averaging 10 million or more if you can find it. And that's not our demographic. We're marketing to people worth, 5 to 50 million for the most part versus, centimillionaires and up in many of these communities. So it's really about taking these bits and pieces that are applicable while while still remembering what's making your project so attractive to many people, right? Which in our case is the value. And I think synthesizing or blending um, the value with design and amenities is very difficult. And that's why having a low cost basis is so important, because your infrastructure, your amenities are very expensive. And this project would not have been possible if we had not been able to purchase the property at a low cost basis. And, I touched on this a little bit last night, but the reason this happened was Deer Mountain had operated for 40 years successfully from 1970 to 2010 under two families. And then the last owner, who owned it from 2010 to 2017, had run the property into disrepair and bankruptcy. And that gave us the opportunity to buy it from a lender. And, that if it weren't for that, or if we had waited 2 years, I don't think we would have had the opportunity. So it was really a right place, right time. And really thankful that my dad and I showed up in the Black Hills of South Dakota in May of 2020.
Yeah, no, it's the videos. I'm excited to go out there and see it firsthand, but just looks amazing. So between 2020, now we're in 2025. What does the project look like? We'll be adding in clips of the videos and things you guys have created, so the audience can see us a little bit. But give us a little rundown on Deer Mountain Village. Sell us a little bit on what you guys are building, the vision you have now and for tomorrow.
Yes, Deer Mountain Village is now a 187 sing Deer Mountain Village consists of a 187 single-family home lots spanning over 650 acres. We have 2 ski lifts, over 200 acres of open space, 120 skiable acres, and we have a clubhouse under construction that's 7,000 square feet, a pool, sport courts, 10 miles of hiking and biking trails, trout ponds, and then I think that we're also going to add in a 5-stand trap chute. Um, and we'll add on, different amenities over time, but it's really over the last 4 years, now almost 5, um, it's changed from just a dream into reality. We have infrastructure complete on over 60% of the property. We have structures going vertical, and it took a long time to get there. It went from selling a vision, sitting on this mountain and telling people how it's going to look, trying to sell it, and now you have a finished product, which is much easier to sell. So, took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but we've created something that's really special, and our focus is really crafting an experience for families to create memories with people they love the most. And that's something that I love about the hospitality business or luxury residential business versus industrial is um, industrial is driven by reason. It's very easy to, well, there's very little emotion into why somebody leases or buys a space, whereas luxury residential is almost purely driven by emotion, which is beautiful and difficult. But I don't know if there's another sector in real estate that's more fulfilling for me than hospitality. Seeing people smiling and laughing with the people they love the most is it's really enjoyable
That's
and it makes me
no,
happy.
you can see that the excitement comes over your face as you kind of talk about that vision coming to life. So you started to already have people buy homes and buy their land there. The community is starting to build as you get to know these people who are starting to be maybe that first wave of families. You mentioned some of the amenities. Forgive me if you did. There's a ski mountain there, so that's incredible. You mentioned the summers are some of your favorite time, fall. So there's plenty of fishing, hiking, mountain biking activities to do. But one of the coolest things I thought about it was that was foreign to me, living in Dallas and Texas for so long, is how quickly you can get there from DFW, and then kind of the proximity to natural parks, but then also some of 3 amazing cities, right? Spearfish, Deadwood, and Lead. Can you talk a little bit about how how do you get from DFW to Deer Mountain Village, and then some of the things that you love and kind of about the cities, and kind of a little bit more about what you guys are trying to build from a economic perspective for the surrounding regions?
Yes, accessibility is so critical to the success of second home markets, vacation markets, because there are so many beautiful places in the United States, but it just does not matter if you can't get there. And the Black Hills are very easy to get to. There are 9 direct flights into Rapid City Regional Airport, which is located in the eastern foothills of the Black Hills. And it's only an hour 45 flight from Dallas. It's very centrally located. Just for context, the Black Hills are a 5-hour drive north of Denver. So it's pretty, from most of those markets, it's a 2-3 hour flight. And once you get to Rapid City Regional Airport, it's an easy 1-hour drive to Deer Mountain Village. And it's only 45 minutes to Spearfish. So um, easy to get to. And then there's a lot of geographic diversity within the Black Hills and surrounding the Black Hills. Just within 60 miles of Deer Mountain Village, which is really in the heart of the Northern Hills, you have 2 national parks, which is Badlands National Park and Wind Cave National Park, totally different geography. You have Mount Rushmore, or you have several national monuments, Devil's Tower, Mount Rushmore, um, and then the striking rock formations in the south. And then you have Spearfish Canyon just 5 minutes away. And this is all just rising out of the Great Plains. So it's just a really special area in our country that most people aren't familiar with, but I've been fortunate enough to travel across most of the country and some of the world, and it's very rare to see such diversity within such a short period of time. And what we have is really a home base for the Black Hills. It's easy to explore from. You're in the middle of it all, and like you touched on, we're very close to cool towns, which is another amenity in and of itself. Because the reason that people pay 2, 3, 4,000 a foot in Aspen, Jackson, Telluride is to be in those towns. And Deadwood and Spearfish are very cool mountain towns. Today, Deadwood has over 20 casinos, sports books, live entertainment, and sees more people than Jackson Hole, over 3.8 million per
Yeah,
year.
that's
And Spearfish is more laid back, but yeah.
Two questions I kind of always got to end with or have here. One kind of horror story of during this process where you and your father were both like, oh man, did we sign up for the wrong thing here? This is going to be a much bigger undertaking than we imagined. And then on the inverse, we'll ask kind of what was that aha moment when you said, hey, I think I kind of know what I'm doing here. I think this is going to be successful.
Yeah. So I remember calling my dad and saying, hey, we're printing a lot of money. This is going to be a problem. And we've both agreed on that. And sure enough, rates went up drastically. So that was my primary concern, was just the cost of money, and also how that was going to impact demand. And I think that I think he'd tell you this as well, he focused on, agriculture, industrial, mining throughout his life. So residential was new to him. It's something that I've always had a passion for, hospitality, my entire life, because my parents brought me to beautiful places since I was a kid, my entire life. So I still enjoy staying in the nicest hotels, going to the nicest restaurants. That's what I find most fulfilling in my life and want to create for other people. Still love industrial, but that's what I'm passionate about. And I just told him, I'm like, hey, we need to really lean into the luxury side of this rather than, of course, the value side, but we were able to still provide that value for everyone because of our cost basis. And but we really need to lean in on crafting the best experience and appealing to a different market of people, a national buyer rather than a regional buyer. And that's what really led to, that's why we've had success through a very difficult time. Um, you know, being successful in land development through the last couple years is something I would suspect is pretty rare on a national basis. Um, and it was leaning into that uh, led to that success.
And was it kind of in those moments of leaning into luxury, knowing, hey, we're going to get the right designer, we're going to get the right components, the right people to make this feel the way you would want, a place that you would want a vacation? Is it when all that kind of came together and that click that, okay, this is a good fit for what my personality, my business acumen all kind of started to align, and you got really energized and excited about building this project and potentially this career long term?
Yes, I think that you listen to some of the greatest artists and designers. You have to create a product for yourself, and you cannot create it um, for your customer. So when you're building an industrial building, of course, you're going to create it for your customer because you're building a concrete box that needs to have certain characteristics. Um, but when you're crafting an experience, a luxury community, a hotel, it has to be functional, but you have to create something that you would be proud to, I think, at your core, that you're proud to show other people. And if you create something that you're really proud of, you're going to create something beautiful. And our goal was to create something timeless, and that's what we've done. And it's bringing together, your job as a developer. Doesn't matter what product type it is to craft a team and lead that team. And we crafted this incredible team of folks from across the country, Chicago, New York, Texas, Las Vegas, to create this timeless community. And timeless is a word I really want to emphasize because there's so many. You see homes, hotels that are trendy, and our goal, and we're going to succeed, has been to create something that people show up to 30 years from now and they're like, wow, they did such an exceptional job. This is just as cool as the day they finished it. And that's what I think when I think about the most extraordinary properties, like the Crescent here in Dallas. How beautiful is that? That's a timeless property, and that's what I want to create because after we're gone, people look at structures like that and say, who built that? Um,
I love it. And, as we wrap up here, the SMU community that owns businesses, retail, restaurants, get up to the Black Hills, bring your businesses up there. And then those families listening, I know we're going to go check it out. Let's make as many SMU community members as we can. Alec, this has been awesome. I'm really excited to share how this progresses over the coming years with our audience and with the SMU community. So again, thank you for making the time. And we're excited to share this and watch you progress through your career in the many years to come.
well, thank you for having me, Mitch. And yeah, anybody viewing this, you can look me up and email me or text me. Would love to host some SMU grads up to the Black Hills.
Let's do it. Thanks again, Alec. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Mitch.